The first time one of your balls ascends into your groin. Men of Reddit, what's a thing that can be scary about being a man? My man, welcome back to another story time. Glad you could make it. Make sure to not miss any more story times with your favorite storyteller Andrew by subscribing and liking the video. If you do, I'll buy you Tinder Gold. Let's get into the stories. Fear of failing the people who are depending on you. Being in an abusive relationship and sexually harassed and not having people take you seriously about it. Your whole identity is wrapped up in your job. You weren't born to be a doctor, lawyer or entrepreneur. You must be some kind of loser. Your industry is laying people off? You're definitely a loser. Your fault for choosing the wrong major 20 years ago. No assumed support network. Too many men become isolated and lonely because they cannot share their emotions with their friends. Government services will also put you right to the bottom of every list, so don't become homeless. When your date picks a fight with some random guy in a bar and expects you to defend her trifling ass. Happened to me. I walked up to the guy and calmly explained that I was just on a date, that I no longer care about her considering the situation she just put me in, and told him I'm out of there. He laughed, we bro-fived and I left. I have no idea what happened to her. The loneliness of it. I've got a small but very close-knit group of friends and family, but even still I sometimes wonder why I'm so unlovable because I'm still single. People tell women all the time they don't need no man, but for guys, if you're single, you're seen as a creep, weirdo or defective in some way. As a teacher, I can't help a female student without people thinking I'm trying to duck her. My sister stayed after in a class along with another girl her age to retake a test, and after my sister finished the test, she got ready to leave. The teacher, who is a man, asked her to stay until the other student was done. I can only assume it's because the male teacher didn't want to be alone in the classroom with a female student. I am pretty young, but somehow, this crap still happens. I was playing with my sisters at the park, and we were playing tag. At one point, this middle-aged lady comes up to my sisters and asks if they know me, and how they know me and whatever. I come up to her and say, "Those are my sisters," and she just gives me the stink eye, ignores me, and turns back to my sisters and keeps interrogating them. It was only after my mom came to see what was going on that the lady left. BTW, I'm in middle school and have been mistaken for being 11 years old, so I don't know what that lady thought I was doing. Edit, I did not know this would get a lot of points. I do live in America, and unfortunately, the Karens run wild here. I'm 29 and don't have a girlfriend. My fear isn't so much not finding someone, there's always time for that. My fear is meeting someone I think is the right person, having kids, and it doesn't turn out to be the case. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up like it did. Thanks for all the upvotes and thank you to all the men who shared their similar fears and experiences. As men, I think we need to talk more about the wounds people don't see instead of holding it in. We're often so busy with our own stresses and commitments we lose sight of the fact that the guy sitting next to us has his own problems, fears, etc. And to the people who complained because this isn't a male-only problem, stop being so serious. It's a legit fear many men feel and don't talk about, which is how I interpreted the question. Being told that because you're a man you aren't allowed to succumb to your chronic lower back pain. That you're less of a man because you have some days where you have trouble walking or even getting out of bed because it hurts to even breathe. Edit. To everyone who has commented with their stories so far and the more, I'm sure, to come, thank you all. I truly appreciate the support I've gotten for my own situation, as well as being able to see what others are going through, and that it doesn't have to be gone through alone. I thank you all and I'm sorry, I more than likely won't be able to respond to everyone, but I will do my damnedest to at least read all I can. Please know that, if anyone wants to play a game online with me to forget the pain, or just to do something other than hurt, I will be happy to try and find something to join you on. If that's something you're interested in or want to do. When I was a teenage boy, my sister fell into a river. My dad put his hand on my back and pushed me in after her, saying go get her. Her leg was stuck on something, but I got it free and she swam back to shore. I, however, was pinned by branches under the water that had somehow gotten around me, there was a whole tree under the surface. I remember looking up to the water's surface and seeing the silhouettes of my family members walk away from the edge and thinking, no. Wait. Long story short, my fight or flight system kicked in, and I scrambled as hard as I could to free myself, and eventually got free and came up to take the best breath ever. When I was crawling back on the sand, my dad, sister and brother were about 100 yards down the bank. He turned and said, "Come on," and I hurried after while gagging on water. That about sums up my experience so far. People just expect you to be okay in obviously dangerous situations. I knew guys who drank themselves to death because liquor is easy, but saying, "I need help" is hard. Speaking on behalf of my husband. The sheer expectation that he can shoulder everyone's stress. If you are a man with emotional intelligence, people will simultaneously act like you are both a rare unicorn and that you must take that emotional intelligence and merge it with the men can shoulder it all mentality. This means he's utilized way too often by too many family and friends who don't make any emotional effort. He's asked to manage everyone's drama. He doesn't, but the sheer expectation that he won't burn out simply because he's a man is hard to watch. Losing your penis in an industrial accident. People are posting a lot of jokes in response to this, but I'm going to take it as being a serious comment and agree with it and extend it to our genitalia as a whole. It might not be something that you wave around and show everybody, but as a society our idea of masculinity is often tied to our penises. How many people comment about compensating for something when someone drives by in a ridiculous giant vehicle? Or use the size of penis as an insult? Or comment about balls of steel or massive balls when you do something impressive? The perception of masculinity may have been changing away from big burly men doing manly things, but so many insults or compliments towards men are based around our genitalia that it reinforces this idea that our penises and testicles are central to our masculinity. I can't imagine how I would feel if I was in a car accident or something and I lost my penis. Even if the rest of my life continued exactly as normal, I can't help but feel like I would be less of a man because of it, and more than that, I feel like I would never be able to address it because I'd be ashamed of it. I would literally rather lose an arm, leg, or go blind. It doesn't help that the technical term for it is emasculation, literally to lose your masculinity. I can't imagine the silent suffering that countless men must be going through because they've lost or suffered damage to their genitals. Being seen as a child predator simply for being a man near children. Whenever I see a child that might be lost, I need to remind myself not to help, no matter how much I want to, because strange man approaching child looks bad to too many people. One day, while shopping with my wife, I noticed a small child without her mother who seemed upset. Ignoring my usual restraint, I approached her to see if she was all right. All of a sudden, her mother emerged from behind a corner, called her over, and gave me a nasty look. I guarantee that had my wife been the one approaching this little girl, she would have been seen as caring and motherly, not evil person who wants to snatch a small child for perverted reasons. As a teacher, I actively remind myself to not touch students. Even when comforting someone. I've known older, male colleagues who got the reputation pedo just for things taken out of context when they touched a student in a completely normal situation. It has become a sort of automatism to never touch students. But I always get reminded of this when I see a female colleague hugging a student to comfort them. Which looks completely normal, but I would never do that. It can get incredibly nasty and out of your control too. I'm not even actually a teacher yet, still studying and doing internships in classes, but what happened to me last year is something I will never forget. The female teacher I interned at made it a thing to stop the kids for a hug at the end of the day, even if they were uncomfortable with it. I was incredibly cautious of this and became the high-five guy at that school because I made that my move for ending the day as forced hugging would surely get me arrested, and the kids loved it. But there were 3 kids in my class, and one girl in particular, that grew incredibly fond of me and came to me when they had problems, instead of the normal teacher, even though I only was there once a week. They asked me if they could hug me at the end of the day too. And this was a weird situation for me, because I didn't want to be distant, but also didn't want them to hug me. I gave in, and they ended up giving me hugs when they wanted to. One day I was standing outside the school at the end of the day. We walk outside with the class and wait for all of them to be picked up. The girl had had a terrible week and needed some attention, so when her father took too long, talking parents, we've been there, she came back to me to talk and to get a hug. The father got me removed from that school for that because he saw and was furious. Thanks for watching. What did you think of the story time? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any more story times.